Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer. And can I welcome the opportunity to participate in this debate, although it doesn't feel particularly if it is a debate at this stage. And I hope at a later stage people will be willing to take interventions. In opening, can I express my concern at the way in which those defending the Scottish Government position have dismissed the issue by suggesting that it's all got up by those who are motivated by opposition to the SNP. We ought not to judge others by your own standards. It is, of course, to take this line is a well-known tactic to impugn the motives of those raising concerns, for then you do not need to address the concerns themselves. In doing this, members have shown great disrespect for those parents, teachers, educationalists, childcare workers and others who have had the temerity to suggest that the Scottish Government approach is seriously flawed. And I do suspect that many of these people, including primary school teachers, have been in a primary school in the last week or so. And can I say to John Swinney, it's the oddest of attacks I've heard him make, that his criticism of the Tories is that they're simply not being Tory enough. May I also express concern at the attempts to characterise the debate as between those who care and who want to bring rigour through standardised testing, and a teaching profession that does not care and simply resists change, whatever that change may be. All my teaching career, I was driven by a passion and desire to see rigour in the system, a rigour that ensured that children, wherever they were born and whatever their circumstances, could achieve their potential. I always believed the education system should raise ambition and expectation, not shrug a child's life chances away on the basis of where they were born. And that is the test I apply to this policy. Will it improve those chances? I do not believe it will. And I say this to the Cabinet Secretary. Teachers who oppose this testing do so not because they don't care, but precisely because they do care. Teachers want real change in the lives of young people, not something that creates a busyness in a system, but with no evident benefits. So to the tests themselves. I attended the demonstration, loosely called, yesterday, and that raised a whole series of questions for me. The assessment can be taken at any time over primary one, so children could be doing the test at any time between the age of 4.5 and over 6. There was no clarity on the level of support a child could get to complete the assessment. A teacher might help them, additional support teacher might help them, indeed a buddy from primary 7 might help them, but there was going to be no consistency suggested on that regard. Pupils were to get loads of practice ahead of the assessment so that they understood what the questions might involve. So it was clear, despite claims to the contrary, that the assessment is not consistent, cannot be used as a survey of national trends in literacy and numeracy, and is not just part of the normal learning experience. In truth, it disrupts that experience. But as Ian Gray said, our short experience of a rather shambolic lunchtime presentation is not what is relevant. What do teachers, what do families tell us? Teachers tell us that it takes up teacher time and takes time away from learning. That is taking classroom support from individual pupils who need it to manage the class while the tests are being run. That the information the test provides is less useful to them than the assessments they themselves make. That there is huge effort, but to little or no purpose. It's no wonder that those who are in the front line of supporting our young people are so frustrated at the approach of the Scottish Government. And it's hard to assess the opportunity costs of this focus. Not only does it not support learning, it compounds the pressure already on teachers and support staff. And even if the assessment produces a diagnosis that most teachers will already been able to make for themselves, it will not bring with it the help the diagnosis identifies. So, you fund a test, but it will not bring extra learning support to help a child catch up. It will not bring the educational psychologist to assist more complex needs. It will not bring a home links teacher for the wee soul whose family circumstances are denying the child peace to learn. It won't bring the additional support for those with additional support needs who need help to sustain a full day or a full week in school and are currently on part-time tables. It won't reduce workload, it will disrupt it further. While you want to do more on testing, Mr Swinney, you are reducing the support that staff and teachers have in the classroom every day. And this is the nub of it. Standardised assessment is not a policy developed over time and building consensus around its worth. It started as a line to take when government was under pressure on its record in education. And the problem for the Cabinet Secretary is that in seeking to answer the question on how to improve Scottish education, he does not follow basic good practice so revered in the education system itself. Look at the question, study the evidence, draw conclusions and then outline action. Don't start at the conclusion and then work your way back to find a way of justifying it. That is poor practice in education, and it's even poorer practice when its consequences are so significant for the education of our children. It's time for the Cabinet Secretary to stop the defence that he's deployed so far that he's the only one who cares. It's time for him to step back, not dig in. Listen, build consensus, change his approach and ensure that our young people are at the centre of this process and that none of them are denied the opportunity to a proper education.